You'll most likely recall that following the awarding of 500 million in damages to Zenimax in the Oculus versus Zenimax court case, Zenimax promised to file an injunction against Oculus to essentially cease the sale of the Oculus Rift and any associated software that allegedly infringes upon Zenimax's copyrighted code. And now they have made good on that very same promise. And apparently the damages awarded to Zenimax by the court were just not enough, and Zenimax's lawyers said in a court filing, quote, "The jury's damage award here, however substantial, is an insufficient incentive for defendants to cease infringing." Just minutes after the jury revealed its verdict, Facebook's COO, Sheryl Sandberg, publicly stated that the jury's verdict of $500 million was not material to Facebook's financials. Now, as I said just a second ago, the purpose of the injunction basically is to block the sale and distribution of any Oculus products that use the copyrighted code in question. And of course that does include the system itself, as well as system software for the Oculus PC and mobile products, as well as any integration with both Unity and the Unreal Engine. So basically this not only has direct impact on Oculus and the sale of its Rift hardware, but it also could mean bad times for any developers working on software for this particular virtual reality platform. Now let's just say for a moment that the jury decides we're not going to impose this injunction. Zenimax have already come up with a plan for that, and have said that instead of this, they should grant an ongoing royalty. Now there isn't a requested royalty amount, however, the injunction does say that based on testimony, they should get a, quote, ongoing royalty of 20% for at least 10 years on revenues derived from products incorporating Zenimax's intellectual property. So to say that the ceasing of sales of the Oculus Rift and any software for it is, or could be rather, catastrophic for VR is a bit of an understatement, to be honest, because again, it doesn't just impact Oculus, it also impacts developers working on games, and it's just a bit troubling for the future of VR in general. You know, while Oculus has not been doing brilliantly in terms of sales, and the HTC Vive has been doing a little better, overall, virtual reality is still a very small market, primarily due to the high cost of entry, at least on PC. You know, you have to have a pretty expensive PC to begin with, and then the hardware itself isn't exactly cheap. So to have one of the units that are sort of one of the main competitors, as it were, pulled from sale because of a court case over alleged copyrighted code and all this other stuff, would be quite bad indeed, to say the least. Again, not just because of Oculus, but because of the impact it has on developers as well. Now, of course, Oculus are not only going to be appealing the decision to award 500 million in damages to Zenimax, but they are undoubtedly going to be fighting this injunction as well. So it's not like, you know, they filed it, they're getting it, you know, woe is me, like crack out the violins because doomsday is coming. No, they are at least preparing to do this, and just goes to show you that they are not satisfied with the $500 million that they got from the court case. They definitely want either royalties of 20%, which is obviously quite significant, or the thing to be stopped from being sold in the first place. Obviously, out of the two options, royalties are obviously better. You know, while, you know, I'm sure Oculus would prefer they didn't get 20%. Out of the two, for the industry, obviously it's pretty clear which one is the better option. But again, I am skeptical about Zenimax's motivations here. Of course, the court did rule that the Oculus team did not misappropriate trade secrets. However, they did find that they are infringing upon copyright. So it is definitely possible that Oculus are going to have to cough up royalties. But I don't know if the jury would go so far as to stop it from being sold. So I don't know, to be honest. I've always been skeptical about Zenimax's sort of backing for this, because, okay, they infringed upon their copyright, but they didn't seem to really care until Facebook got involved, and all of a sudden they wanted that Facebook money. But, you know, that could just be me being overly cynical, again, to be honest. So my hope is that, I guess it'd be better if this injunction is just, like, thrown out, it doesn't work, but I guess out of the two, again, the royalties would be the better option. But I would love to hear some thoughts and opinions from you guys. I want to know your opinions overall on this court case. You know, do you think Zenimax's motivations were a bit suspect, or do you think they genuinely were just, hey, stop stealing my code or whatever? But them getting this aggressive is definitely an interesting sign, perhaps a sign that they genuinely do believe that they were wronged and they're not satisfied with the ruling, or they're just being very, very forthcoming about their desire to try and squash the Oculus Rift, because obviously it was pulled from sale. That would be huge, that would be the end of the company, and obviously the time would be ripe for Zenimax to come in with something of their own, and they would do damage to Facebook as well on top of it. So yeah, the fact that they're being so aggressive could be taken either way. I'm kind of leaning on the more cynical side of, yep, they're trying to squash the competition because they want to come in with their own virtual reality headset or something similar. But again, I could be completely wrong. It's pure speculation on my part. But again, I'd love to hear some thoughts from you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.